A year ago today, a mob overran the Capitol building in Washington, D.C. 150 Metropolitan and Capitol Police were injured on that day as a result of that violence. And a surprising number of people who are in that mob are planning on running for elected office. There's a large number of Americans who believe President Trump's claims that the election of 2020 was fraudulent. Herman Melville was no stranger to lies and mobs and deception and corruption at the highest offices of his time. He wrote the novel Moby-Dick in 1851, and in it he's addressing many of the same questions that we address in our own time. The story is about a captain named Ahab who convinces his crew to go on an evil mission to destroy the white whale. They have a kind of opposite of communion where everybody drinks from the same cup as he enlists them in this destructive mission. In the very beginning of the book, there's a very powerful passage, a whole sermon, a chapter which is a sermon from a man he called Father Mapple. Father Mapple was based on a real character, a real person named Edward Taylor, who was very close friends with Emerson and who had a church called the Seaman's Bethel in the north end of Boston. And so Father Mapple climbs, almost like climbing the rigging into the pulpit, and he delivers a sermon about the prophet Jonah, how God wanted Jonah to go preach to his enemies so that they would change their ways and not be punished by God, and how Jonah, to escape him, took a ship to the far other end of the earth and was swallowed by a great fish and then spat out again and when he was spat out again, he decided to follow God's will. But Father Mapple in this sermon, you can see he's weighed down. He says, I am the most sinful of all of us. I'm the most sinful one here. He says how heavy God's hand lies on him. He says how hard it is for us to do what God calls us to do. It's a very powerful sermon. It's dark and it's weighty and it's difficult. It's about the sources of human sin, the difficulty we have of living a good life. But at the very end, this tortured man looks up and you can see a glint of joy in his eye, and he says this, "But O shipmates, on the starboard side of every woe there is a sure delight, and higher than the top of that delight, than the bottom of that woe is deep. Delight is to him a far, far upward and inward delight, who against the proud gods and commodores of this earth ever stands forth his own inexorable self. Delight is to him whose strong arms yet support him. Delight is to him who gives no quarter in the truth and kills, burns, and destroys all sin, though he pluck it out from under the robes of senators and judges. Delight is to him who acknowledges no law or Lord but the Lord his God, and is only a patriot to heaven. Delight is to him whom the waves of the billows of the seas of the boisterous mob can never shake from this sure keel of the ages. And eternal delight and deliciousness will be his, who coming to lay him down can say with his final breath, O Father, I have striven to be thine more than to be this world's or mine own." Today on this celebration of Epiphany, I send my prayers to you and for this country. My name is Malcolm Clemens Young. I'm the Dean of Grace Cathedral in San Francisco, California, and thanks for watching More Good News.